Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 320, your weekly little get-together. We talk about recent gaming news. As always, your host, Stephen Brown, and tonight we have to talk about the problems that seem to be hitting Aspyr on their KOTOR remake. Things don't seem to be looking too good over there. Ubisoft released their quarterly results, and along with that comes a whole bunch of announcements, including multiple cancellations and delays, and so much more. But first, I want everyone here to understand that this is an interactive podcast. So if you're watching here live at Twitch TV/GamePoints or later at any myriad of video hosting platforms, be they YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, whatever, feel free to join in the conversation with any questions, comments, concerns, etc. you might have. Just try to keep them germane to the topics on hand. So let's go ahead and without further ado, get right into the very first story here. This is via Bloomberg. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game paused amid studio shakeup. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Knights of the Old Republic remake was being made by Aspyr. These are the people that were working on some of the more recent KOTOR ports. And if the performance on the Switch Knights of the Old Republic 2 is anything to be weighed in on this, I have my doubts that this will be good, and it seems like those doubts have been justified given what seems to be happening over there. To the article itself. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, a remake of the 2003 role-playing game, has been delayed indefinitely as developers at Austin, Texas-based Aspyr Media try to figure out what comes next. Aspyr also abruptly fired the game's art director, Jason Miner, and design director, Brad Prince, this month. In a series of meetings throughout July, Aspyr's two studio heads told employees that the project is on pause and that the company will look for new contracts and development opportunities, said the people who were not authorized to speak publicly about the situation. As always, keep anonymous sources, take them with a little bit of a grain of sand, as it were. But I get the distinct feeling this is legit, and Jason Schreier, love him or hate him, tends to be accurate in his reporting for the most part. So if he says there are problems at Aspyr, there are probably problems at Aspyr. Neither representatives, by the way, for Miner, neither representatives for Aspyr or Embracer chose not to respond to requests for comment from Aspyr, so they're not saying anything about what's going on. However, Miner did suggest on a social media page that his dismissal was unexpected. So it could have been running afoul. I doubt it was running afoul of any kind of company policy. I wonder if it was scope shift. Who knows? Didn't really read too much into that other than he said it was, or at least alleged, that it might have been without a clue that it was going to happen. Moving on. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling a little bit there. Back to the article. Aspyr studio heads have told staff that the vertical slice, by the way, for those of you who don't know, when a developer is trying to pitch a game either to the consumer or the publisher, they'll usually make like a small bit of the gameplay. It might not even find its way into the final game itself, but it's kind of designed to sell the game to the publishers or to us, the consumers, to get us to go more on board of what's coming. It's supposed to give an idea of what the game will be like, what style of art will be involved in it, maybe a little taste of the story, just to give you a general vibe of the entire thing. Consider it like a presentation to sell the concept of the game to someone. Not the full game itself, but a, vertical slice. Like if you were to take a cake and cut it in half and you would see all the layers of the cake. That's what a vertical slice is. So whenever you hear vertical slice, think promo reel. Kind of the same idea. Back to the article. Aspyr's studio heads told staff that the vertical slice wasn't where they wanted it to be and that the project would be paused, according to two people who were in the meeting. One person familiar with the discussion suggested that a disproportionate amount of time and money had gone into the demo and that the project's current course wasn't sustainable. Another point of contention may be the timeline. At the outside of development, Aspyr told staff and partners it would release the game by the end of 2020, which is this year. According to two people familiar with the production, developers said a more realistic target would now be 2025. 3 years from now. Holy hell, guys. Holy hell. The fate of the Star Wars The Old Republic remake remains unclear. In May, Embracer announced that Saber Interactive would also join the project. Some at Aspire believe that Saber, which has been mainly doing outsourcing work for the project, may take over completely. I'm inclined to believe that. Everything that I'm hearing out of Aspire, from this story to their issues resolving problems and other games that they've had, leads me to believe that this team might have bitten off more than they can chew, and it would make sense to bring in a pitch hitter to kind of bring this home, if not just take it off their hands completely, especially with something as revered as Knights of the Old Republic. You can't fuck that up. Well, you can fuck it up, but you better not. People will be calling for blood, rightfully or wrongly, and it does not sound good for the state of this remake, that they are now saying, after having working on it for a while, saying, oh yeah, it's now 2025, after telling people internally at least that 2022 was its target date. What the hell has happened at Aspire to cause all this to go off the rails? Remember, they did that little teaser trailer at, I think it was the Keeleys, the Game Awards last year, but all you really saw was Revan. Okay, cool. No idea what the gameplay or thing is going to be looking like, and the fact that the game was at that time supposed to be released in a year, at least internally they were saying that. Yeah, something went way off the rails here, and it is bad news for people who are looking forward to this remake. I am of the opinion that I would rather it just be canceled than released in a bad state. We have the original Knights of the Old Republic. We can always go back to that. And yes, it has some jank. And yes, I understand that some of the more recent ports, looking at you, KOTOR 2 on the Switch, might even be unfinishable at this point, which is a goddamn tragedy. How do you fuck up that? But at least we still have the memories of the original games. This isn't good. I hope that they can kind of salvage this and make something good of it. Although I will admit, I was shocked to hear that Aspire was working on this. No offense to Aspire, but this is not a game that you assign to, let's face it, a garage band developer. This is something that you give to a heavy hitter. The only thing I can think of is that because the Disney's EA license, the Star Wars EA license burned Disney so bad, and in their mind, EA was like the creme de la creme of publishers, because they're huge. They might not be from the you and I level, a venerable publisher, but from a Disney business side of things, they're massive. It would make sense that you would give it to them and create a lot of money. I think they might be a little gun shy from that now, and they're just willing to work with whoever can be the cheapest, because that deal was not cheap. And you're going to get shit like this. And now I'm worried that the Star Wars license in video games, which was really not, was already kind of hit and miss, is going to turn kind of into what the Games Workshop licenses are for 40K and the Warhammer Fantasy stuff, where anyone can kind of make anything as long as they pay Games Workshop, good or bad. And I'm afraid that might be where this is going. And I'm really, really concerned about the future of Star Wars games. That said, Fallen Order was awesome. Hopefully Survivor is awesome as well. But as far as this KOTOR remake goes, I would take this off your calendars if you're hyped up for it. Give me 1 second. Need to go off camera for 2 seconds. Apologies, I had to sneeze and you didn't need to see any of that. Moving on to the next few set of stories, I have some Ubisoft news. Now, Ubisoft had their quarterly results. Whenever these quarterly results come out, we get a whole bunch of little details, projects, whatever Ubisoft might be working on, how well some things did. And from last quarter's results, we can kind of glean some information of what's going on. First up here from Engadget, by the way, all these articles will be linked down below, regardless of where you're watching at, over at our Discord server, if you want to read them yourself. And I always encourage that you do. First up, Ubisoft delays the Avatar's Frontiers of Pandora to 2023 or even 2024. Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment have delayed the Avatar game to 23 to 24. The developers are pinning the setback on, quote, ongoing constraints affecting the game's production across the industry. Ubisoft said it was still committed to creating a next-gen game and saw James Cameron's franchise as a multi-year opportunity. This is another one of those games that feels like it should have came out 2 or 3 years ago, if not even longer. I swear Massive is... Let me do a quick look. How long has Massive been working on this? Avatar Massive Entertainment. Let's take a look at the good old Google and see what it gives for us. When did this go in development? I swear it was like back in 2018 or something like that. I'm trying to see if I can't find it. Where are we? Avatars of Pandora. First announced March 2017. So that would be roughly 5 years now that they've been working on this. And that's just when they first announced it. No word on when they actually went into pre-production or anything for this game. And they're having to delay it again, possibly even like 2 years, if not more. This just falls into the overall category of something fucked up happened at Ubisoft over the past few years. It has derailed everything. I don't necessarily blame Massive for this as much as I just blame Ubisoft for having a general chaotic tone to every release they have coming out. Furthermore, I have heard that the game looks gorgeous, but the gameplay sucks. And that really reminds me of Anthem, especially since they're going to try to crank this out as a open world kind of deal. Everything about this has disaster written on it. And even if it wasn't Ubisoft helming this, I would be concerned. What sucks is I actually like Massive. I think The Division's a solid franchise. I loved World in Conflict back when they were doing that. And this Avatar game, man, it's much like the movie itself. It feels like these sequels, or in this case, this game, should have come out like 10 years ago, back when people gave a goddamn about the franchise. But Ubisoft has been committed. Cameron has been committed to their visions. I just don't know where we're going to go with this. A 2-year delay is a significant delay, by the way. That was me smacking my table with this, by the way. 2-year delay is huge. And I don't know if it's from the game or if it's just because of issues at Ubisoft right now. I'd be willing to bet it's the game, a combination of both. But I hear the game is kind of rough. It looks great, but just plays bad. That is what I hear. Take it for a grain of salt. That's not only the story we have from Ubisoft, though. We have this here from GameSpot. Ubisoft cancels 4 games, including Splinter Cell VR and Ghost Recon Frontline. To the article. On the same day that Ubisoft delayed Avatar Frontiers of Pandora and a smaller premium game, we'll talk about that in a second, the publisher also confirmed that it has canceled 4 games. These include Splinter Cell VR title and Ghost Recon Frontline, as well as 2 unannounced titles that Ubisoft did not disclose. While the Splinter Cell VR game had been canned, fans of the series are still getting a remake of the original game. So keep in mind, this Splinter Cell VR game is not the remake / reboot of the franchise that we're getting. That is still on track. When it comes out, who the hell knows, given the state of Ubisoft as a whole, but that's still supposedly being worked on. As for Ghost Recon Frontline, this was a free-to-play Battle Royale game. I'm kind of glad that it got the axe. Battle Royale's played out. Stop chasing what's hot. Innovate. Create the own new. Rather than chasing Fortnite, make the next style of Fortnite. Not in that cartoony style, of course, but make what will become the next Fortnite. Stop chasing trends, especially in the video game industry, because by the time you release it, people have moved on or have committed to whatever one they want to play. As for the other 2 announced games that have now been canned, it's anyone's guess that's what they might be. By the way, games get canceled all the time. Projects get the axe. We don't even hear about most of them when they come out. Stories about things like StarCraft Ghosts are in the minority, where we actually hear that something was being developed and then get the axe. That a lot of this stuff never really makes it past the pre-production phase, the planning phase, when someone with the purse strings go, all right, we have enough money to do 3 games and I have 10 projects on the table. That means 7 of them's getting whacked. That's the nature of the beast for you. Not everything necessarily gets seen. I'd be very curious to pick some developers' brains about unrealized projects. Something to consider. Maybe I'll reach out to a couple. The smaller game, by the way, that was alluded to, that didn't give a name, is believed to be Assassin's Creed Rift, which itself has been delayed a few months deeper into 2023. Rumors have this Assassin's Creed Rift game set in the Middle East or Russia or Japan. No one really seems to know. And this is not to be confused with Assassin's Creed Infinity that is coming out sometime later as well, which is supposed to be the live service Assassin's Creed that will just continuously be updated. Ubisoft really wants just to make... They want the Destiny of Assassin's Creed games. They want one game that just constantly gets updated with seasonal content, patches, maybe different locations you can go to, different time periods. That is where they want to take that franchise. And I get the distinct feeling that is where some of this confusion is growing. If I had my druthers about me, I think Assassin's Creed Rift is probably the Middle East game. And these rumors that you're hearing about Japan and Russia, etc., are going to be part of potential seasons, or whatever the hell they call them, for Assassin's Creed Infinity. We will see as time goes on. One more bit of Ubisoft news, by the way. This is via Destructoid. I'm sorry, not Destructoid. Whoops. Haha. Wrong article. Here we go. From Game Industry. Ubisoft shuts down rumors that's canceling Roller Champions. Now, it was reported a few days ago that Roller Champions was probably going to get canceled. Jeff Grubb, I think, said that he heard that it was going to be canceled after Season 3. Ubisoft, in a rare move from a company, actually came out to just categorically deny those rumors to the article. Ubisoft has debunked a rumor that it was going to cancel its free-to-play multiplayer title Roller Champions. In a statement shared on Twitter, the company was very clear, saying, quote, Roller Champions isn't getting canceled and Ubisoft fully supports it, end quote. In a statement, Ubisoft announced the patches correcting issues and added the following. As far as content is concerned, where is it? As far as content is concerned, we can tell you that we've got exciting stuff planned for the next seasons. We strongly believe, however, that before we release new content, we've got to do right by our players. Hence why we're taking the time we needed before we do. Sure, Ubisoft says that now. They might have every intention of going through with it. However, what I tend to side with Jeff Grubb on this one. He probably heard from somewhere that the talks of this getting canceled were being presented by higher up somewhere, and as such, he reported on the rumor. Not everyone at a company knows if a game is going to get canceled or not. I don't have a good example floating around. However, examples in the past where a company said, we're going to support something, and then whacked it not too long after, you have to look no farther than Anthem. Once again, to go back to that game. Of course, they're going to say they're going to support it. They're not going to come out and say, hey, we're canceling it, then have no one play it anymore, and no one, more importantly, spending money on it anymore. They're going to milk this thing dry for whatever they can get and then quietly shelve it. What I would expect to happen with that kind of a statement, and keep in mind this is just speculation, I have no inside knowledge on this, is that they might do another season, maybe like a half season, a season 4 with any unused ideas or bits of content they wanted to add into a previous season, but those were already deemed too big to add even more to it. Release that big, and then quietly sunset the game. I doubt Roller Champions is actually doing very well for Ubisoft, considering how it was just kind of unceremoniously released into the wild, and we heard really nothing from it since. I get why a company won't be honest about it, because if they say, yeah, this game's fucked, then it becomes reality, right? People stop playing it, hastening its death. As opposed to letting the company admittedly string its player base along a little bit while trying to see if they can't revive the corpse. They're kind of doing some CPR on it. They don't want to just give up and tell people, oh, well, it's fucked, go home. But at the end of the day, they do have a budget to make. And they do have to pay people to work on this. And if the game is costing more to maintain than to shut down, they'll shut it down and move on to something else. That's why I expect this to happen. I do trust Shakeup on this one. I honestly see Roller Champions not lasting another year. I hope I'm wrong. I don't like it when games get shut down. It's never fun, but that is the reality of the situation. So if you're a fan of Roller Champions, one of the few out there, enjoy the game while you have it, is what I will say. Now, to the Destructoid article, because I got a little premature with it. From Destructoid, Black Panther game reportedly in the works at EA. A new Marvel hero may be getting their own game. Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb reports that Black Panther game is in development at Electronic Arts. All this coming from Grubb today. After teasing the project the night before, Grubb reported on the project during today's Game Mess Mornings program. The Black Panther game will be made by a new team, likely a Seattle studio led by former Monolith Productions studio head Kevin Stevens. It's reportedly the game is in very early development and is in a big open world Black Panther game. It also apparently won't be a live service game. Project slated due to the success of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This is one of those things where I do think that EA saw dollar signs after Fallen Order and went, oh shit, non-service single-player games might actually make money. Let's roll with it. Grubb was also reporting that the player will be trained to become the new Black Panther after death of the former bearer of the mantle. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm not really a big Black Panther fan to begin with. I found the first movie to be a middling Marvel movie at best. I really don't like the idea of them continuing the franchise after Chadwick Boseman died. I think it's one of those things that should just be put to rest. It feels a little like they're trying to replace him. I like the character, but I didn't care too much for the movies. And I something about that second movie doesn't sit well with me because of the death of Boseman. Do we need another superhero game? Like, superhero fatigue is real. I am so over the Marvel MCU shit at this point. I don't care what they release. And I tapped out after Endgame, and they keep releasing more and more of it. It's similar to Star Wars in that retrospect, where I'm just tired of the franchise. And I'm ready to set it down. The question is, are there enough people like me to make this not work, or are people still in love with superheroes? And that's not a question to ask right now. You have to ask that question 3 to 5 years from now, when this game would actually launch. That's another thing that it's the same thing as the Avatar game, right? Why wasn't this earlier? It feels like it's missing its mark. It feels like it's not going to be striking while the iron's hot. I'm sure there'll be a third Black Panther movie, especially if the second one does well. Maybe they can coincide it with the release of that. But, man, superheroes are a tough sell on video games to begin with. You have Batman and you have Spider-Man. And those are really the only two franchises that I can think of on video games that have done well. You can't really do anything with Superman. Guardians of the Galaxy had a game that came out last year, and it was kind of for sales. I liked it personally, but it didn't really light things on fire. I would rather they work on something new rather than an existing IP at this point, because I have such huge superhero fatigue. This does nothing for me. But hey, I could be wrong on this one. Let me know down in the comments below if you are excited for this Black Panther game or not. I just don't care. But maybe it's not for me. Who knows? I have a couple of smaller stories to get through before we wrap up today. First up right here, this is a quick one. The Meta Quest 2 is changing its price. It's going up $100. $399 for the smaller one, $499 for the bigger one. What the fuck? Oculus Quest's whole shtick was being the cheaper priced entry into VR, and they're raising it up by a third. At that point, why bother? I get that the index is still way more, but you have the PlayStation VR 2 on the horizon. I would just save up for that. Have you seen that new feature set, by the way, for the PlayStation VR 2? How they have like the external camera mode, so you can kind of see the room around you, because it has a camera right here, so you're not just blind. Little things like that. As it stands right now, I see this, and all I read is that I'm having to pay $100 more for Facebook to sell my data to the CCP. Why the hell do I want to do that? So the one advantage that the Quest had is going away. Okay, good luck. I don't think Meta or Facebook are long for this world anyways. And by long for this world, I don't mean they're going away overnight. I think they have peaked and they are now on a decline, and they will eventually just peter out over the course of 10 years or so. That's what I mean by that. But I don't see Meta ever becoming as dominant as it once was. That's not to say it's not in a powerful position now. But in my opinion, it is definitely on the downswing of things. Its golden days are over. Next up, another quick story right here. This is a little link from psdells.net showing that Tactics Ogre Reborn is in fact coming on November 11th. This site kind of leaked the game a little bit early. Whoops. It seems to be coming. They have all the information. A whole bunch of other stuff has since come out on this one. I'm kind of surprised this page wasn't taken down by now, but it is what it is. Tactics Ogre, by the way, one of those games that was announced of a NVIDIA leak from a few months back, which essentially NVIDIA had an issue where they accidentally revealed the upcoming announcements for a whole bunch of games. This was on that as well, so awesome. Looking forward to this, by the way. Tactics Ogre, a strategy game from the old Super Nintendo days, I believe, although this would be an enhanced version of the PSP version of the game Let Us Cling Together. I think. Need to double check that. But that will be on November 11th, just in time to go up against God of War. Two different genres. They're not going to compete with each other. Find it kind of funny still either way. And then finally, in the news, Guerrilla Games has announced that they are shutting down the online servers for various Killzone games as well as rigs. And this tweet right here says the following. August 12th, 2022, online servers for Killzone Mercenary, Killzone Shadowfall, including Intercept Mode, and Riggs Mechanized Combat League will shut down. Online features, including online multiplayer modes, will cease on that date. Single-player offline modes remain available. Thus is the fate for all online games eventually. Even your big ones like World of Warcraft or Destiny 2 will eventually be shut down one day. That's the nature of a live service game. And it will be gone forever. Unplayable. I know that the Killzone games had a multiplayer community, specifically Killzone 3 with that Move controller. I just don't know how many people are actively playing them right now. I'd be very curious to know how many people are actively on their servers. I wouldn't be surprised if they had problems even making a full game. I mean, like, seriously, server loads of only 10 players or less at times. They're not giving those numbers, but I would really want to know if anyone's actively still playing these or not. Whenever you have an announcement like this, however, there's always a chance that people will do like one final hurrah, so they might be getting an influx of players in right now. I think that happened with Halo 2 when they eventually, or maybe not Halo 2. What was the online Halo that they were shutting down the service for? I don't remember. It's a while back. But people were just playing that for a good long while before they finally killed that. So I'd expect a similar thing to happen for Killzone. I'm not talking like thousands, but maybe going up from tens to hundreds for a day or two. Anyways, if you have any one of these games you wanted to get one more multiplayer match in, do it this weekend, because then you're not going to get a chance after August 12th. We have one upcoming event that we want to get into real quick. Jeff Keighley announcing that Opening Night Live is going to be streaming at Gamescom on August 23rd. This is the first time that they're doing it in person since the COVID outbreak happened. So awesome. For those of you who don't know, Opening Night Live is, well, as it says, it's the opening night of Gamescom presented live. There tends to be a few new announcements, a few of those world premieres that we all know of and love, and expect to have an hour to an hour and a half show teasing all of that. Who knows what we'll see at this one. It tends not to be as huge as like the Game Awards or anything happening over E3, but you might get a few cool trailers or two out of it. We do have two delays I need to talk about. One of them we've actually already mentioned. That's that Avatar game. But the other one is from Lord of the Rings Gollum. There's a little important message right here saying that Lord of the Rings Gollum is going to be delayed by a nebulous few months. Don't know if that means it's going to be out of this year, into mid next year, end of next year, 2024. No idea. A few months is what they said. I would imagine that they probably got feedback from one of their more recent trailers and it was not good. The vibe on this game tends to be very down as it is anyways, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're going back to the drawing board to try to, maybe not the drawing board, maybe we're not talking square one here. The game is more or less probably finished at this point, but they might be trying to spruce it up just a little bit more considering how negatively received it's been so far. If I had to guess, I would say this is now a May 2023 release. Maybe June or July, sometime over the summer when nothing would be coming out, so that way they could try to maximize profit off it. That's when I would release it. Who knows when they will. But Gollum delayed, so if you're looking forward to that one this year, well, start looking forward to next year in my opinion. We're not really sure when it's coming, but I would imagine sometime then. That does it for the news, so let's go ahead and that's not good. Random fucking crypto tweet popping up there. We have 2 new releases coming out this week worth of mention. First up, Bear and Breakfast on the PC and the Switch. Bear and Breakfast is a laid-back management adventure game where you build and run a bed and breakfast, but you're a bear. This game looks adorable as hell. It is a management game, so think things like Prison Architect or, I don't want to say SimCity, that's not quite what I'm looking for, maybe RimWorldy. But it's over a bed and breakfast and you play a bear. So there's a bunch of little cute woodland creatures you're trying to enlist to help you out with this. I saw this at the Wholesome Direct that happened a few weeks ago, and I fell in love with it. While this is not a game I myself am going to play, I love the concept of it. And it just looks cute as hell. In this world of grimdark shooters or oppressive war sims that I love to play on this stream here, it's a nice palate cleanser for what's coming later this year. Also later this week, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 on the Switch. Join Noah and Mio, members of 2 opposing nations of Crevice and Agnes, on a helpful journey through the warring world of a dark secret. Traverse massive, fantastical landscapes and master seamless real-time RPG combat as you expose the true enemy pulling the strings. Cool. I love Xenoblade 1 and 2. I never played Xenoblade X. That was on the Wii U. I'm kind of surprised that never really made its way to the Switch in any form that I know of. But I love the first 2 games on this. This is apparently supposed to join those 2. I was sold on this the moment it was announced. I don't need to see any more of it. That said, it does look beautiful, as all the other Xenoblade games did. I am sure it is going to be exceedingly long if you want to do a completionist run on them. And it's reviewing within the high 8s to low 9s right now if review sites are your jam. So something to consider. I will likely be picking this up, however, on Friday, and I'm looking forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen, that does it for the new releases, which means that does it for the show as well. A little bit of an early end, but these go on as long as they need to, and this was a slow week in news, at least according to my opinion. So this has been GamePoints episode 320. We stream this live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at twitch.tv/GamePoints, and if you like what you saw here, you know what a streamer wants to, if you want to support it. Likes, bits, follows, shares, etc. There's a Discord you can join, link provided down there, and you can follow myself on Twitter at CapitalistPig21. I do stream here throughout the week here at twitch.tv/GamePoints, so come on by and take a look. And also put up these shows on a myriad of video hosting platforms, be they Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, etc. You know all the ones that are out there. Anyways, that wraps things up here. Thank you for watching GamePoints, and until next week, I'm out of here.